And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Welcome to the imho.love show. I'm Angelwolf. This is Mike Murburg. And here we are at Area 52 in beautiful Darby Ranch, Florida. It's the 18th of August, 2021. Epic dates, really. Watch for something big on tomorrow, the 22nd. They seem to like 22s. They seem to like the number 22 for epic events.
Yeah, you ever meet that guy 22?
22?
Yeah, he used to be a character down the Keys.
Wow, that was the guy's name, 22?
Yeah, he's 22. He had $22 bills printed out with his face on them.
Nice.
And he would pass them out all over town. Eventually, it became worth something. Yeah, he's
Wow.
a Key West character. He lived on a bus in Key West down by the Atosha Gold exhibit. You know?
Nice.
Yeah, it was. Those were bygone days,
Now,
late 70s.
To join your story, I used to play the Cayman Islands, those comedy clubs down there. And I met a guy called The Dude. And I don't know, this was many, many years ago.
Did he sprinkle like dude dust on you?
He was just dude, you know. And he would wander from restaurant to restaurant. And he had canvases and paper bags and things. He would do a portrait of you in cigarette butts and ketchup.
That's amazing.
Cigarette butts and ketchup, and it was amazing. I mean, they were somewhat juvenile in their style, but he always caught a nuance of everybody that made you go, "That's that guy."
Yeah.
It was kind of amazing. So, and anyway, he and I had some in-depth conversations. Imagine that. And I said, "Hey man," I said, I'm going to put you on my postcard list." And I said, "What's your address?" And he wrote, "Dude, Cayman Islands." And you know what? I sent him like 3 postcards over a year. Went back, did the gig again, and I asked him if he got his postcards. He goes, "Oh yeah." So that was 3 words: "Dude, Cayman Islands."
Yeah.
And he was an interesting cat.
Those are the days, man.
A white boy with dreadlocks.
Yeah.
Who I've met a couple white boys with dreadlocks over the years, and the more committed their dreadlocks are, the more the whole thing works.
Yeah.
You know.
Cool.
Like you don't want dreadlock helper. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Angelwolf, Mike Murburg, imho, in my humble opinion, .love, because love is what it's all about. Welcome aboard, folks. Tonight's topic that we're going to try to tie the buoy to is there is no normal. There's no normal. Everybody's talking about this. No, I can't wait for things to get back to normal. I want everything to be normal. Baby, that ship has sailed. You can recreate normal in your head. You can corral normal in your schedule. But normal of last year, year before, 20 years ago, that kind of normal is no longer available. It's out of stock. There's new arrangements. There's new energies. You can have nuances of memory of the old normal, and you can even do some things just like you did back in the old normal. But this is a time for those who want to be aware, should be maximum aware. So, welcome everyone. And before we get too deep into the show, Mike has some beautiful Wahoo Ching for us later on in the show.
Oh yeah, we'll serve it up later, like a 3rd course of egg foo young.
Yeah. You ordered the Peking duck; it's ready.
Did you know that chop suey is not Chinese?
Chop suey's not Chinese.
No, it's not.
What?
Yeah, it was invented in San Francisco.
Really?
Yeah, so they ran out of food, so they threw all this crap together. Stuff. Fine foods, which they were. And then they had no idea what to call it, and they named it chop suey.
Really?
Yeah, it's like about the same time they invented the Chinese fortune cookie.
Really?
Which was invented by this restaurant, a Chinese restaurant in San Francisco. That would be redundant. But
Great
yeah,
Chinese in there.
Yeah, it was so good. The guys were, everybody was lining up outside, and they were bored and stuff to do. So he invented like the fortune cookies, and he passed them out to keep these people from being bored, stimulate conversation, it would stimulate their appetites a little bit, and it's a wonderful, wonderful invention. But now they give them to you at the end of dinner, and it's like, what's this? Who the hell wants this crap? You know?
Yeah, I love fortune cookies.
Yeah, me too.
Great. I've gotten some very profound advice in them over the years.
Yeah, well, you know what one of my favorite ones was?
What's
I
that?
still remember it. Is the greatest wisdom is kindness.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, who would think that like Lao Tzu was like laying in a friggin' fortune cookie for me there, and
Well, brevity is the soul of wit and often truth. So, yeah, that's a great one.
yeah. Hey, speaking of normal, there was an artist, and I forgot his name. I was just trying to look him up. It'll come to me later. But he lived on the streets, and what he did was he gathered garbage, and he would nail the garbage together, and he'd paint on these pallets. Okay.
Yeah. What city is this?
This is Miami.
Miami.
Yeah. So, buddy of mine, God rest his soul, was a reporter on the beat down there, and he got to know him, and he would like, buy him a lunch or something. They got to be friends. The guy was a rhythmic schizophrenic who was homeless and refused to be, to go into anywhere. It was like living like behind a dumpster.
He wanted to be outside.
Right, that's exactly what. So,
Well, Miami's a good town to be outside in all the time.
back in the day, it was.
Yeah.
So he gave my friend Ellis, 3 or 4 of his works, and 25 years ago, they were in Ellis's house, and it was like, what's that? He goes, it's some schizophrenic guy, and told me the story about he's an artist on the street, and then all of a sudden, somebody discovered him. Okay, and I saw a repertoire of his works in Miami 2 years ago, and I was amazed at how a crazy person could produce such wonderful, beautiful modern art. And I'm not, and it's postmodern in a way, but it is and it's not, because it's done by a crazy person. So a crazy person doing postmodern art is like art imitating art.
Okay.
Yeah. So
By crazy, you mean he was like certifiably insane?
Yeah. He needed to be institutionalized, but
Was he a threat?
No, he wasn't a threat to himself or anybody else.
Just
but
let him go.
But that's the way I feel. But for most people during for so many years, that
Was he scaring people?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, he's just like doing his thing, just gathering like old shoes and
I
old
love that
pieces
stuff.
of carpet.
Yeah.
But he died, and then he essentially got discovered after he died, and
Ain't that the way?
well, I go to the.
This isn't the guy that sold the stuff on the roadside, is it?
No, these
Okay.
aren't like guys like Art Black, the Highwayman. No,
The Highwayman, right?
Yeah, the
Art
Highwayman.
Black.
Art Black is still alive too.
Art Black, the Highwayman.
Yeah.
Cool.
He did time too. He's an official real.
We love
highway
him.
guy. Yeah, I got one.
Oh, you got a-
I got one of his.
You got an Art Black, dude?
I have an Art Black,
Nice.
and I had to drive to Titusville to get it. But make a long story short, I see this exhibit, and they fully exhibited, and I looked around to see what his art was worth, and his stuff goes for like 1.3 mil and up.
Yo!
So, yeah. So just by giving
What?
just by giving Ellis a couple, hey, you want one of these? Just finish these,
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, cool, and that's $5 million worth of art from just the kindness of another human being.
But at the time, it was just
Something
stuff.
was doing, yeah. Something was
It
doing.
wasn't worth $1 million then,
No,
right?
and Ellis.
But see, and I know you and I have talked about this, not on the show, about the farcity of the fine art community.
Yeah.
Just it really is. It's laughable almost.
Yeah.
The work that gets, like these type of accolades, okay, that really is just kind of basic work. There's so many incredible artists that can paint, like their painting talent is much more intense than these guys that were, nailing shit to a board.
Yeah.
Now, I understand seeing flow and color and texture. I understand that has its thing.
Right.
But some like my buddy Jeff Barrett, he's a graduate of the University of Pittsburgh. I mean, he can paint the most real. He did this thing of a moray eel coming through some high grass in the ocean, and it looks like it's coming off the canvas. It's so realistic.
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head for what defines the art of the neoliberals, and their art is just as vacuous and just as dangerous as their philosophy.
That's great. Well said.
I mean, it is. It's just like, you want to take a look at what we want to make tomorrow into? Well, see that phone green on that stand? That's art.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, okay. Give
Yes.
me my food.
Yes. Oh, and the some of the scatological ones are amazing that they have such a fan base. And it's interesting to see what is deemed good by a certain band of those who praise it, I guess. Well, he said, well, she said, well, they said, and we all agree that this is awesome. And it's funny, years ago, about 2 years ago now, I'm going to say 2 years ago, I had a very, very vivid dream of living outside of Idaho, or in a rural town in Idaho, and that's what I did. I had an old barn that looked like an old something that a farrier would have, and I made...
And a farrier is somebody who puts horseshoes on horse hooves.
Yes, that's what a farrier does.
Yes.
A horse shoes on horse hoofs.
There you go.
So a blacksmith shoppy looking thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but that was my job, was creating lawn art, and I was working on this thing that was a spinning wheel like they used to, use for sewing and quilting and all that stuff. And I was nailing stuff to it and painting in unusual colors. And that's what I did. I remember actually fulfilling an order for a client in this dream vision thing. Very, very real. One of those things I woke up and took me a minute to look around and go, oh, I'm not there. That's not happening. There was that, like, I was so into the moment that I thought it was a real thing.
It's a vivid dream.
Well, the lucid dreaming stuff has just been awesome. And over the last several months, I've also, you want to talk about letting your normal be changed. And I'm a tad suspicious of this, but I love these binaural beats and these sleep flow, 10-hour orchestrated tune to various megahertz. There's the...
Yeah, they're healing frequencies. When they're going to amputate my foot, that's what I did. I got stuck in a room and I would play the healing frequencies while the healing went on.
Like the 432.
Yeah, 432, 5, whatever it is.
547.
It goes all the way down to like
574.
8. But the higher ones are supposed to be more healing. But I think it helped. It's part of an overall environment that you create for healing. So,
yeah, I know that works. I've seen enough science on that one, because when they do change the tones of the frequencies, the sand that they're testing reacts differently. It makes different shapes. Right. So therefore, in that, and the Tesla code flies in here too. There's your 3, 6, and 9. Okay.
Well, they're universal codes. They're universal tunes. They're universal vibrations that you're attuned to, and some are copacetic and other ones aren't.
Right.
And the ones that aren't are going to screw you up. That's why we're at 440. At least some say, and 440 is not 432. I don't care what you say. It creates a more nervous rat. At least that's what they found in the labs.
Yeah, and the 440 was simply changed as some sort of power grab by somebody that said they could.
Yeah, it was a Rockefeller deal.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He changed that all like in the early.
It's not unusual to have them change stuff like that.
That's right. Hey, you get scatological, and it's interesting because the scatological and scat and eschatological, and I always got them confused. Okay, so I decided to look it up. So, but scat. I mean, scat's just
right. I never wanted to play that game, Scatagories.
Right. Which I have a cousin from Upper New York State, and we used to pronounce his name Scat.
Right.
Yeah,
and Scatman Crothers.
Right. But that's I'm sure they weren't from Upper New York State, but everybody knows what scat means.
Right.
Even though you might not pronounce Scott right. But so you got scat, which is shit,
Right.
And then
droppings.
Droppings. And then you have scatological, which means the study of droppings.
Yes.
Essentially. And then you've got eschatological. Okay. So,
or is it eschatological?
Eschatological, right. So, well, let's study the eschatology of that premise. So, so eschatological means relating to death. So,
right.
Yeah. So the easiest way for me to remember it is like people shit in their pants before they die.
Those little helpful reminders.
Let that be a lesson to you. That's your Latin lesson for the
Put
day.
that in your Dewey Decimal System. Wow.
Yeah. Sorry, that was
That's a nice little tab for your brain.
That was a long way around third base.
They're signaling them in, folks. It's a cloud of dust. See.
Well, speaking about normal, let the cat out of the bag. I smoked pot before I went on the show. I rarely ever do that, if ever.
Well.
So, but since we're
I
talking about
love pot, Mike.
Well, this is that's why
you guys get pot Lou all the time.
That's why I nearly failed out of college. I mean, for Christ's sakes.
Really?
Oh yeah, you can't stay this high all the time and expect to get good grades and graduate. No, that
can't?
was
Huh.
no.
Shit. All right.
Not
do over.
Yeah, not where I went. It was a little bit.
Dude, you went to some big schools, man.
Yeah.
You went to Princeton.
Yeah, it was like non-dudacious, but yeah, I got through. So.
And what was the other one you went to?
I just
the
Florida
other
State. I went to the
State.
I went to the #1 university for education to party, and I went to the #1 party school in the nation to get a law degree. I mean, it looks different, but it's definitely the same path,
One of these things is not like the other. That's great.
Yeah.
That's cool. You went to Princeton to party, and then Florida State to get your degree.
It was. But my idea of partying was like, well, yeah, let's do some of that.
Yes. What did I just take?
It was like, yeah, it was a wonderful exploration into self and psychonautics, and it whet my appetite for the things that I wanted to learn more about in life.
Right.
Carl Jung being one of them, and
Carl Jung, man.
I watched the Amazon. It's on Amazon. I forget the name of the movie. I'll retrieve it by the time of next week. But it was wonderful. It's life of Carl Jung and his relationship with Freud.
Yes.
And it really goes into that, and it goes into Jung's life. And there are parts in the movie in which they hit on Tao.
Yes.
And they hit on concepts that are related to Jung and Tao. And it was just a fascinating movie of a guy who's like just really fascinating,
Well, and they hit on the Tao because what happens is, I feel, if you get too far into the Tao, you surrender all other concepts because it, and really all you're doing outside of the Tao is conversation.
Well put.
The Tao is as close to as I can figure, the absolute truth that you can walk through every day within yourself and around others. It is a bastion of beautiful energy, and we're trying to understand it day by day in our finite minds. And that's a big funnel, man, going from, the infinite into this little funnel into your little head. you know. But the blessing of the Spirit, the Creator Spirit, the consciousness that flows through us, we are able to receive, consume, and groom these concepts into a way of life.
Yeah, and it dovetails with synchronicity as well, which is, you know, another Jungian concept, but you massage synchronicity a bit further. And I mean, Jung is opening a door of perception for us, okay?
Yes.
Huxley opened his own door of perception. These guys are opening these doors of perception, and it's our responsibility to walk in and see what the next door is.
Right.
And it was kind of amazing what happened the other night. It's Amy sent me a link. Okay, I'd spoken about something the night before, and then she sends me a link that's about something I was completely ignorant about. Okay, and the link is to a guy by the name of Jack Sarfetti, and he's still alive. And
Jack Scarfetti?
Sarfetti, yeah, he's
Sarfetti.
an Italian boy, you know.
Yeah.
So Sarfetti is a post-quantum physicist. Okay.
Post-quantum physicist.
Right.
Whoa.
Okay, and yeah, exactly. And I had never heard of him, so I go down the rabbit hole, and I go down to his website, stardrive.org.
Stardrive.org?
Yeah, I posted on the IMHO site. and
I used to go parking there as a kid.
When Amy said, this is how ideas get fertilized. I sent her the Carson tape or video on. He's got Nikeo Kaiku on, and Kaiku for the first time is he's a physicist, and Kaiku for the first time gets shown like the Navy videos and the stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Kaiku's always been, well, someday we'll find civilizations on other planets, and we have this $1 trillion telescope, and we're losing this. And he sits in his chair and literally almost shits himself.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I posted on the site. It's worth it. So she saw that, and then she saw took the credits at the end, and she goes, was it Carson Cooper, whatever his name is.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson, and so he gives Sarfetti credits at the end of his little presentation with Kaiku shitting his pants, about the UFO stuff. It's really worth watching because Kaiku doesn't
I know,
get
I got it. My day was a little full.
Oh yeah, and so she picks up Sarfetti, sends me Sarfetti, right?
Okay.
And then I go down that rabbit hole. Now, just to give you some background on Sarfetti, okay? He goes to Cornell. He's a genius. He graduates at 19. He becomes a professor at 21, and the CIA gets him. And the job he leaves, when he's 21, is in like 1960. He's making $1,000 a month.
Okay.
As a 21-year-old.
Okay.
So he's driving an XKE. Okay. He's living down in San Diego, and he meets up with Richard Feynman.
Okay.
Richard Feynman is a Pulitzer Prize winner in physics, and Richard Feynman, and this is a good thing for anybody. Richard Feynman went to I forget, either Harvard or Cal Poly, Caltech, and he was a PhD candidate, and he had so much self-doubt that he sneaked in, broke into the university division head's office.
Okay.
And that's totally Feynman too. If you follow the guy, Feynman is like cool. Okay. So he was at Los Alamos and all that kind of stuff. So
right.
So Feynman breaks into the dean's office, and he takes a look at his own file because he's wondering if he has the stuff to make it as a physicist in a PhD program, and he finds out his IQ is only 128. He's not even gifted.
Wow.
Not even gifted. And he became one of our most brilliant scientists and gifted scientists, and just an all-around great guy. So Sarfetti starts off his lecture by mentioning to his students, this is one of his lectures, and he's lecturing on post-quantum physics. He goes, Yeah, I met Feynman. First time I met him, he saw I had an XKE, so he goes, "Like, put the top down. Let's go out for a drive." And we end up at a tapas bar. He goes out to it's like a tapas bar. Two physicists walk into a tapas bar.
Now this matters.
So Sarfetti's got like all this great stuff. Okay, so I go through Sarfetti, and last night I was a target for Nancy Dutestra's TSP group,
Tell everybody what TSP is.
it's a tested sensory perception.
Tested
Sensory
perception.
Yeah, and Nancy was a protege of Ingo Swann. Okay,
She's awesome.
oh, she is. And so I'm doing this. I'm a target for her. And I won't go into it. I'll give you the results next week, and I'll tell you all about it. Cause
Okay. So you were a test target.
Yeah, I'm a test target.
Okay.
And I'm gonna recommend that you get involved because you do remote viewing, and
Yeah.
this is reverse engineering your remote viewing technique.
Reverse engineering. Okay.
Yeah, if you're the target. So
Oh, wow.
I learned so much from the last hour and a half. It's absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I'm okay at remote viewing, but I never really worked on it. But this is where the synchronicity comes together. Is I just this morning I sent Nancy a little note saying thanks, had fun last night, And by the way, because Sarfetti mentioned that he had worked with Ingo Swann, and Nancy was Ingo's protege. And so I said, you wouldn't happen to know who this guy was, do you? He goes, yeah, he uses one of my books as one of his references in this.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was like, yeah, I know him. So it's such a small world. I mean, here I am going from,
Buddy, yeah.
no friggin', where did this guy come from to, oh yeah, this is just one handshake away of,
I love the cyclical energy of all this. The remote viewing has been in my periphery for several years now, and I do like to spend time there. This is very interesting. Suzette and I have this conversation a couple of times already about learning and sharpening those things. And it's one of those, it's so fascinating, but you really, really have to be in a place where everything else can fall away. You have to have a deeply settled meditation. And that is one of the most beautiful things you can experience, is if you really do have a beautiful, in-tone, not fragile, but like a delicate meditation, to where you're so free that you're almost kind of weightless a little bit. And that's when all that stuff transmits.
Yeah, and some of the most ridiculous things that you see that are most vivid that you can't figure out are the things that lead you to exactly where you need to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a big sentence, Mike.
Yeah. Well, that's
I have to replay that one.
That's because I've been conditioning my mind by listening to Jack Sarfatti.
Okay.
What he ends up doing, the most money I've ever paid for a used book.
Most money you ever paid for a used book?
Used book.
I'm going to say $1,200.
No, you got way high to great vision. No, it's $80.
$80.
$80.
Okay.
All right. And it's a book by John Wheeler. And I haven't gotten a chance to read it yet. But and the reason I bought it is because I know Wheeler and I know what he teaches, what he taught, and what he thinks. I just wanted to really...
John Wheeler?
John Wheeler, yeah. He's
John Wheeler.
A professor of physics at Princeton, but he also worked at the Advanced Institute as well, which is where Einstein was. So Wheeler is just an amazing guy. And Wheeler back then, 40 years ago, was talking about how time-space folds back on itself, so that you can influence things in the present that have passed while you're in the present. And what Jack Sarfatti did was he took that premise and then he did the math for it. And the math he does, and it comes out. And it comes out to a reasonable certainty that you can both influence the past from the present, and you can influence the present from the future.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's the corollary to the premise, to Wheeler's premise.
You can influence the past from the present, and you can influence the present from the future.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Now, what this figures into is with TS.
Now, is it your perception of the past or the actual?
Let me explain.
Okay.
Let me explain. Well, how it figures into TSP is with TSP. I'll get an Ingo Swann example. For example, Ingo Swann, they give him a target, and he gets to the target, and he lays it out, and he does a great job of it. But he says there's a water tower there, and the guys who run the tests are like, no, where do you get water tower from? And he goes, there's a water tower there, and what they found out 2 days later was that 40 years ago there was a water tower there.
Oh,
so
my.
he saw through space-time. So he was seeing levels of time imposed upon a location.
Wow.
Levels of real time imposed on the location through remote viewing, and that's where you get into the whole, the post-quantum physics issues. So here we are, with all these wonderful mystical things happening about us that 20 years ago people thought you were either crazy or this is unreal, and now it's becoming very real, very normal. It will be the new normal. First they criticize you, then they try to burn you, and then eventually they say it was all self-evident all along. So,
right.
And we're getting to the point where, especially with Kaiku crapping his pants in the movie theater, we're getting to the point where our existence, our reality, what we accepted as normal years ago is now the new normal. And I think what we're seeing is the world crashing around us, the fall of Kabul, all this stuff that, the thing is, it's so complex, they can't hold on to the complexity long enough to make it work.
Right.
So it's all going to fold onto it, down into itself because it's not simple. It's too unnatural and too complex.
Well, what happens and what destroys the fabric of these events is the eventual saturation of the greed and ego of the common men that have to carry these things out. Okay, if there's someone setting a quest for change, it will quest forward as long as all of your operatives are in sync mentally. But what happens as time endures, people stop and they have a contemplative moment, and a lot of people realize what they're involved in. And some people can just stay the course, and that's what it is. I took a vow, I said a promise, I did a thing. But there's people that, when they realize that what they're questing for is full of ego, greed, and all based on some paper hypothesis. Is this really worth me compromising my life, my spirit, that kind of thing? And then things start to fall away. And then on the other side, you get people that go, well, I have to keep this narrative going, and here's a guy that wants to pay me extra for keeping the narrative going. So you have on one side people that are trying to balance themselves away from a less than scrupulous activity that they've been kind of flowing into. And then you also have people that go, well, hey, I'm in this, I might as well glean it for all the human nature that I can.
Well, that's what they're doing. That's what the 1% or the 1% of the 1% is doing to the planet. You realize that in the United States, the 1%'s wealth grew by $1 trillion last year, and that instead of being equal to the bottom 35% of all Americans, they're now worth 50%, the bottom 50% of all Americans.
Wow.
That's how much the jump was last year.
Phew. Well, the actual concept of money and territories and treaties and land boundaries and
it's egotoxic.
absolutely egotoxic, and there's really, I mean, it can only sustain for a while, and then there has to be like a mass cleansing or a mass destruction. So it's going to go one of two ways. And you're looking at the news events this week. Everybody's shaking their head. Everybody's pissed off. Everybody's rolling their eyes. Everybody's throwing rocks. All this stuff, like Mike and I talk about almost every week, this is all lower vibration stuff, okay? And if you look, it's all connected to money, commerce, power, transitions, borders. It's all in this big game of Stratego that they're playing, that we're witnessing, but we're also being manipulated by sound waves, blinking lights, telling us how to feel about all of this. And the reality of it is, you spend too much time in front of those blinking lights, it will work its poison on you. Suzette was telling me the other day, when you engage with television, you can become hypnotized in less than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It will, the hypnotizing effect of certain programming will move you into like a hypnotic zone within 30 seconds. And I tell you, that's really, really true. I like watching Jeopardy. There's a new guy on Jeopardy that's doing really good. It's the only television I really watch, and I can't even stand the commercials. It almost makes me not watch Jeopardy.
Who's hosting that now?
It goes various people to various people. It was they've had Ken Jennings, who was the biggest winner ever, and last week was Joe Buck, the sports announcer. They've had like a best of people hosting now. It's a cavalcade of stars and personalities. But and I'm like a 50 to 70% guy on Jeopardy. I didn't do good the last couple of days, but
okay. Well,
I try hard. I think, but I'm at home, so I never phrase it in the form of a question.
well, it can be intimidating, and I can see some of those issues that people have about, like, IQ questions. Okay, they are culturally attuned to certain questions. Okay, but I'll take Mopar parts and carburetors for $600, please. It's like,
I'll take that.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's never up there. So,
right.
There are only certain kind of geniuses get recognized. Once again, sorry, Feynman.
Right. Yes, instead of Indonesian sewer systems for 800, right. Alex. I'm going to get to what I get to, but I just saw my notes here, and I wanted to make this mention. But we do have a message for you at the end of all of this. Proposterity, is that a word?
Proposterity, okay.
Okay. Sometimes I like to make words. If there's not a word there, I'll make it.
Well, I like it. Crocosterity. What's crocosterity?
Where almost everything you hear is a crock.
But people keep it anyway.
They flock to the crocosterity.
Like it's in hysterical, yeah.
Okay. A few days ago, the entertainment world lost a really, really great guy. There was a character, Fez Whatley. His real name's Todd Hillier. He was a personal friend of mine for many, many years. He was Fez Whatley on the Ron and Ron show. Then
I remember who
Ron
Fez was.
Oh yeah, he played the flamboyant gay character.
Well, I only know him from radio. So
he was an old friend. In fact, he was like one of my open mic when we were doing comedy open mics. He was one of my contemporaries back then, and just a sweetheart of a guy. Oh my God, he was so nice. He was such a pleasant human being. Had one of the quickest wits of anybody, man. That premise went out there, man. He was throwing darts in it before it hit your ears. It was amazing. He and Bennington had an incredible show, but Todd had some heart conditions for many years, and I don't think he handled stress very well. But he did pass on. He left behind many, many people, shared millions of laughs with people. I mean, he was on the air for 20, 25 years, 30. I should have looked it up, but just a great. And he was a lot boy at Loki Oldsmobile, and I worked there with Joe Alvarez, and I was a wholesaler, and I was buying and selling cars, and I would see Todd all the time, and then we'd go to open mic night, and I was good friends with one of his friends, Michelle, and then and on and on and on. And then he got the job on the Ron and Ron show. He and Bennington got along, and they created the character of Fez Whatley, or Whiz Fartley, like Diaz used to call him. And but then it went on from there, and then just a brilliant guy, a great dude, and may he rest in peace. He knows all truth now. So if you're listening, Todd, tell us how we're doing somehow. Drop something in my bucket. So, namaste. Rest in peace. Todd Hillier, Aka, Fez Whatley. So, thank you.
We're going into the future so we can find a cure. Let's say.
Yeah.
We can come back.
I don't think
some things are just best left alone.
I don't think the thing got him, but he had bad heart problems. Anyway, as you talk about these things at the water cooler or with your friends or online or through memes or messengers or texts or however, as you try to share current events, keep us all, because there's enough to scare the shit out of you and make you want to go, live in an aluminum shed somewhere with a machine gun. But you shouldn't do that. That means you would have succumbed to the fear. All this down here that we can rise above through meditation, through personal affirmation. First thing I tell you to do is please eliminate your negative self-speech. Stop saying, I'm so stupid, I don't even like saying it to tell you not to say it. I don't even like to create those vibrations out there. You need to stop that. Just when you go to say it, just be quiet. Just let it go by. I mean, you're still creating the vibration that you're punishing yourself. Stop it. Like Bob Newhart says, stop it. But then as you enter into prayer states and meditation states, just know that the spirit inside of you wants to align throughout your body. It really wants to illuminate your mind. Your pineal gland is dying to communicate with higher energies. Look up those things. Concentrate on those things, at least a portion of your day. And what happens, it starts to take over your time, your schedule. You're a contemplative person. You're evaluating things moment by moment. You don't waste a lot of time. As little of that blinking light in your house. Now, I get my fair share of screen time, but I do write and I do make commentary. I got this show. I've got the Cosmic Surf Shack show, which we're preparing. So I do have a lot of stuff happening, and I'm consequently I have to spend a fair amount of time with electronics. But I find that my true growth is always away from them in some sort of nature setting, either a walk in the woods or near water or a beach or a lake or, I don't know, some wonderful place, a picnic shelter, wherever you're at, wherever you can find some solitude.
Yeah.
That's where you need to start. To me, I'm not telling you what to do. Do whatever you want. I'm not in charge of you, nor do I want to be. But what's working for me is those moments of solitude, and you live the Tao more and more every moment of your own volition.
Yeah. It's once you go there, you can't come back. Hey, you ever been to McKethan Lake Park off of 41?
Yes.
Isn't that a cool place?
I love that place.
Isn't that cool?
It's the quietest.
Right. You talk about your Tao moment.
Oh yeah. Suzette and I found it on a wandering.
Oh yeah.
Out wandering.
Yeah, it's funny. I wandered in last week.
Oh really?
Yeah, for the first time.
Dude.
I had passed,
I left breadcrumbs for you.
I had passed that spot for 30 years and never bother going in. I had a little bit of time to zen on out.
Cycles, man.
God,
Cycles.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really great.
Yeah.
Where are we at on time?
Oh, we got 15 minutes left.
15 minutes. Wow, what do you want to hear over? Just kidding, folks. Oh, by the way, there is a show coming up. If you're in the St. Petersburg or at Tampa Bay area, I will be playing at the Palladium Theater in downtown. You can go to palladium.org, thepalladium.org, or ourpalladium.org. It's on 4th and 3rd, or 3rd and 4th down there in St. Petersburg. Ward Smith, myself, Mike Rivera. I don't know if Cat Named Mo is going to make it. Maybe Maurice Jovan. He may be sick. I think he may be bailing, but that's okay. Aniria, Pat Largo, and if there's one more guy on the show, I'm sorry if I forgot you, but I think I got them all. So fantastic show coming up at the Palladium on Saturday night.
Cool.
Ward Smith always does a great show. We're in the big room upstairs.
Yeah.
We're not in the casserole room downstairs.
Yeah, that's a good place.
Because that used to be the First Methodist Church of St. Petersburg.
Right.
For many years.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and the seats are made for people who lived in the 1940s.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're so tiny.
Small people.
Oh, man. Ooh, I can't go there. But, anybody who can fit.
Well, they did put an extra large row in for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
you can make it.
Okay. Well, good to know that.
They have changed things around. People have grown. We've gotten bigger.
It's a wonderful venue, though. It's a great acoustic.
Great sound. Yeah, and their tech crew is fabulous. So Ward's doing all that for us. I'm going to dress up and look pretty. I know a lot of you are watching television and are watching that all these things that are going on over in the Middle East. It's hard to get a straight scoop about what it's all about because it is, like Mike was saying, it is about so many things. It's exhausting, because it really is like hot potato. It's like playing hot potato. I found a hot fact. Oh, here's another one. Here, catch this one as well. There's just so much stuff moving in that direction. And I know a lot of people are looking for some kind of sunshine Superman to straighten all this out. I don't know who that would be.
It ain't out there. You got to do it yourself.
Yep.
Start within and let the rest chips fall where they may.
And you got to remember, folks, all these people that are worrying you and filling you full of fear, a majority of them are politicians. And what do politicians do but manipulate opinion? It's what they do. They manipulate opinion for a living. And they're manipulating your opinion, whether you like it or not. So the more you can pull away from that, the more you can have your own individual thought about what's going on. Don't be afraid to be alone. The Spirit never leaves you alone. There are times that we torment ourselves with our spirit, mostly with negative self-speech, that we really do feel like we're being defeated, that time is cheating us and everything sucks and da-da-da, but that nothing could be further from the truth. If that's your current mindset, just know that the whole other side of the fence is absolutely glorious. There are elevations and vibrations and frequencies that we can all reach together. They're, in the ever-expanding scale of extremes, there's some bad stuff happening. There's new margins being set there in the bad stuff zone, but there's also new margins being set in the revelation zone and the truth zone, the happiness zone, the joy zone, the serenity, the tranquility, the oneness is coming together for so many people. And there's this beautiful flow of us all gathering together. And that's what this show is about. The IMHO is, in my humble opinion, .love is the suffix, imho.love. It's always available. It's on the website. The website is down for a little bit of repair. It'll be back up tomorrow. But it's on Facebook Live, YouTube, BitChute, Podbean, and I think there's one more. Oh, well, the homepage, and yeah, YouTube. And did I say YouTube? I don't know. Sometimes you don't even listen to me.
So no, I was just thinking about something else.
Doing a commercial.
No, well, you mentioned how things have changed. I mean, we had the big news story of the week is the fall of Kabul.
Yes.
And it was strange and interesting because there was some indication that the Taliban had ordered that women would not be treated in such and such a way, and that there was an invitation for them to join the government, which through my sources was very very surprising. Because we've been fed all along how these people are the boogeyman.
Yes.
Okay. Nobody in their right minds in this country would say, "Oh no, the Taliban are great."
Right.
It wouldn't happen. Yeah, they're a terrorist organization. That's how we've labeled them. But something in our wars, in the French and Indian wars, we used to do horrible things. We beheaded English soldiers and sent their heads down the river.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Man's inhumanity to man is absolutely endless. It hasn't changed.
But there is a terrorist of war, and for part of war would be that if an army invaded, that your men were subject to death and your women were subject to rape, and in the moral control, the more moral control that an army had, the more respect that I would have for it, and I would anticipate that that political means can be reached when cooler heads prevail, and we're not telling lies about each other, or at least writing propaganda pieces to demonize the other side.
Right.
The bottom line is when as a follower of the way, if I see a Taliban sitting across the table from me, I see myself.
Amen.
Okay.
Sure.
And the goal is for him to see me as himself.
Yeah.
Okay. When we got that done, when we've established
that's a small task.
Well, when we've established that premise, if we were to be at a bargaining table today, and let's say the first rule of engagement is going to be, you are going to treat me, all right, or I'm going to treat you like I treat myself. Okay. And you and vice versa. Okay. See
Yes.
each other in self and other in self. And we're going to go on that premise, is that I'm going to do what's in your best interest, you're going to do what's in my best interest, because we both have the same best interest at heart.
Yes.
So let's start with that. And traditionally that's not happening, because the sides are just, they have self-interest, and they don't consider the global picture of things. They don't see that they're human beings first, before they're Taliban, before they're American, before they're anything.
Right. They let their world get small.
Right, exactly. So, this is something that maybe what we can see happening is that the earth is starting to shake itself and shake the energies loose that have been at it so long. I mean, let's face it. Why were we in Afghanistan for 19 years? We had no business being there.
Right.
They have every right to be pissed at us because of what we did over there.
Sure.
And for how long we were there. The poppy production doubled. It increased by 400% from the time we got there to the time we left.
Really?
Yeah. As long as we were protecting poppy fields, everything was going all right.
Wonder what that's about.
Yeah, same thing happened with the Luces in China and the Golden Triangle in the 1930s. But nobody, because the press is owned by the money rights, the Luces, they owned Look magazine, they owned they're all in bed together, literally.
Sure.
Claire was quite the woman, from what I understand.
Wow.
Well,
so and again,
things will change.
To circle back to, I don't really like using that phrase, but
yeah, I hate it.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's a half of a circle.
Do
jerk.
over.
It's
Half
like,
a circle jerk. But to reiterate,
it's like
how about that word? Is that better?
Circle back. It's like doing yourself with a dildo. It's a form of democratic masturbation. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Welcome to Stoned Mike.
So, but what we were saying before just kind of came back around.
That's better. That's a better phrase.
Yeah. Recycled itself.
We return to the subject.
Reiterated.
Yes, there we go.
When the purity of spirit moves forward, it has a wonderful surge because everybody goes, oh, this is wonderful, wonderful, this is great. But what happens is your humanity and your ego and all those things that go with it, your greed, your self-centeredness, your fear of lack, all these things compromise the sincerity of your effort. So when you're being, when you have the ability, and I'm not saying I got it, but I'm just telling you this is probably some sacred wisdom here. When you can do the right thing simply for the fact that it's the right thing, there's no gain in it for you. There may even be loss in it for you, but you do it because it's the right thing to do. That is a high level of maturity. It's a high level of spiritual attainment. And it's kind of imperative that eventually that's where you have to get. And what that requires is a lot of self-analyzation, a lot of self-sacrifice, a lot of self-neutralizing. You have to surrender a lot of your opinion. You have to surrender a lot of your ideas/ideals to comprehend your existence. Stuff you used to know and stuff you used to swear was true. A lot of us, you think back on life, and none of that stuff was really. It wasn't there. It's no longer there. All that yesterday is dust. So if you're hanging on old opinions, especially people that said things to you that have stopped you, stunned you, spun you out of control, that's what you need to neutralize in your own mind. That was just words. That was a scenario that you're no longer in. That energy of that day, that instance, no longer exists. And you just need to let it go, especially if it's a hurtful thing. Somebody might have said horrible, horrible things to you. And okay, that day, that happened. And yeah, I'm not saying it didn't suck, but that was that day. And the retention of that hurtful vibration truly is only retained by you. You're the one that's holding on to that moment. Most people, if you retold them about the moment that you're holding on, that's so painful and so frightful, most people would go, what are you talking about? I don't remember any of that. And a lot of it's just your perception of what you thought happened. So the more you can let go of that, and the more you can wake up afresh in this moment where there's people waking up all over the world, there's love being generated, there's peace being talked about, there's forgiveness being dealt. That's what you want to enjoy in your life. That's what you want to pull towards you, right? Am I right?
Of course.
Okay, good.
Unless you're not normal.
Unless you're not normal. Oh, then you got to go back to being odd.
Or, well, you can always be odd. Odd is good.
It is. Well, we're the island of misfit toys over here.
That's right.
And there you go. Grown men with play school toys.
Be as a child.
It is. It's so beautiful when you can have like a childlike moment. Man, it's so beautiful. And say hi to our loyal friends Mark and Kat and Nanette and Sue and I know I'm missing a whole bunch of you, Deanne and Pete and Mike and Dave and Jefferson. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I know I forgot a bunch of people. I'm just doing it from memory because I go through your posts and stuff like that. Karen, thank you, Karen and Karen. and the other Karen. We love you, and whatever you want to do with this show, you want to like it, you want to subscribe to it, you want to share it, please feel free. It's a non-monetized show. It's not edited. We do one take most Wednesday nights at 7:30. We're probably the week of the September 1. We'll probably do the show on a Thursday night.
Right. Figure it out.
Yeah, and or Tuesday, whatever works. Anyway, well, folks, I'm Lou Angelwolf. That's Mike Murburg. We're here most Wednesday nights. What do you want to close with? You had some great notes there.
Oh, well, next week, listen in, because I'll be able to tell you all about the TSP that I did with Nancy Dutetra and her advanced group. And I won't get into it, but it'll be some very, more than your typical interesting stuff.
Yes, yes.
Fascinating things. Cutting edge. And I won't go into it any further.
Nice.
Yeah.
And our friend,
hi to Rob Hipkiss, by the way.
Rob Hipkiss, yes.
Yes. You're a great thinker, Rob. I don't care what they say about you.
And Jim Chambers is hilarious too.
Yeah, he is.
And
is he like out of Facebook jail yet? I haven't seen him in a while.
I think he harshly violated or whatever that is.
It's always tough when all your best Facebook friends are in Facebook jail. This is like the real world.
I sent them a little electronic file so they could sell themselves out.
Baked in electronic cake so Facebook wouldn't catch it.
In my Easy Bake Oven. And our friend Buddy, too. Buddy, we love you, man. I know you pop your head in every once in a while. I hope you're well. And thanks, everybody, for listening in. My mom and my sisters watch from time to time, and my brother Keith is feeling better. He had the corona thing, and but he's I'm not gonna say he's 80%. He's back. He'll probably be whatever. But it really did knock him down. It really was a nasty flu, and I'm sorry that he had to suffer like that. I know he was a little panicked for a few days. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending time on the imho.love show. I'm Lou Angelwolf. That's Mike Murburg. I'm playing at the Palladium Saturday night, the 21st. Come out and see the show. Me, Ward Smith, Mike Rivera, Pat Largo, Aniria, perhaps a cat named Mo. I don't know. All right, everybody. Love you a bunch. Hey, John. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Amy. All right. Look at all the love there. Oh, you guys are awesome. Love you a bunch, man. Thanks so much. Like that.